of business is approval of last week's minutes. If committee members have a chance to review, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 1 under old business is authorization to renew agreement with the Chamber of Commerce of West Alabama for professional services for economic development. The total is not to exceed $175,000. Eric, welcome.
Thank you, Counselor. So this is the yearly update or the yearly renewal of the council or the Chamber's contract, not to exceed $175 million. This was in our budget.
Whoa!
Sorry, $175,000.
His ears perked up.
I think we just need a motion to table.
$175,000.
That'll certainly make the general fund budget easy next year.
That's a lot for neighborhood drainage.
So I'm sorry to clarify,
We're kidding,
$175,000.
Eric. That was comic relief.
Thank you for that.
But it's the exact same as last year. Again, it was in our budget. It was recently approved. Some of the scopes of service are recruitment, entrepreneurship, research and analysis, marketing, communication. If there are any questions for me, I'm more than happy to answer them. We also have Mr. Page and Mr. Garrett here as well who can assist.
You know, I want to open this up to committee members and to other council people, but I think Councilman Busby had several questions, and so did Matthew, and I think I did too, but I'm glad that Mr. Page is here too. So committee members, open the floor for questions from y'all on this agenda item.
So, yeah, mine was less a specific question, and I think President Tyner echoed the same thing. We come up and give us a presentation on what we're getting for the $175,000.
Councilman, I'd like to address that.
I think that was all of my concern.
First and foremost, last week, thank you for this opportunity, and I apologize for not being able to be here last week. This would be the 10th year that we would have had this formal relationship with the city. And while the cost of goods and services are going up and have gone up a lot in 10 years, ours never has. We've done $175,000 a year for the whole time we've had this relationship. But I don't know that the actual scope of services that you approved last year, which is our contract with you, was maybe discussed in detail. So I wanted to quickly, because I value your time, run through this, talk about exactly what we are charged with doing.
Thank you.
Which is broader than just economic development in the traditional term of going out and recruiting a business to come here. It's much broader than that. And I want to give a few anecdotal examples of the scope and the impact of what we're doing. And then I'd love for you to critique that. I'd love to answer any question you have because I'm not confident about a lot of things in the world, but I can stand here confidently, I think, and defend our value proposition and the value that we bring to the city. First and foremost, the question is probably, where do you spend this money? Well, I sat down and did a diligent count looking at this scope of services and compared it to our staff. We have 12 different staff members on the chamber. Our staff is bigger than that, but we have 12 staff members that have engagement in this contract. So for $175,000 that the city is contracting with us, you have an extension of your city staff of 12. It's pretty good if you do the math and you divide that. So first and foremost, that's where the money would be going. But the first point, as Eric pointed out, was the recruitment, job creation, retention, and economic sector diversification. There's a lot of bullet points here, as you can see on that. It's assist city staff in the creation and retention of jobs within the community. Now, certainly that is retail, it's commercial of all kinds. But anecdotally, one thing that we've worked on the last couple of years, and some of this was underway when I presented to you on December 15th of last year in this room. We had a lengthy standalone work session of some work that we're doing that you're not going to read about in the newspaper. You're not going to see probably on social media. But we have worked extensively through our workforce development arm of West Alabama Works, which is part of this contract, of working closely with Mercedes in them moving 1,000 temporary jobs to permanent jobs with benefits. That's significant economic impact right there of getting people off the temp rolls and on a permanent. And in partnering with Mercedes, we have worked with many of our suppliers in converting over 2,000 temp jobs at SMP, Lear, Moeller Tech, Broza, Truck and Wheel, ARD, Schnellica, Bolta, and BLG. These are moving people typically in the $14 an hour range all the way up to the $19 an hour range with full benefits. That's significant economic impact when you extrapolate that over time, and those employees live in every single one of your districts. I promise you. In addition to assisting city staff with retail recruitment, business development efforts as they request us, and I know Eric and the team work with our team extensively on projects as a case-by-case basis. The next point is entrepreneurship, innovation, and workforce development. October 1st represented the 10th year anniversary of the EDGE Incubator and Accelerator, which is a partnership between the city, the chamber, and the University of Alabama. Thousands of new jobs have been created through that incubator over the years. Great startups. There's a lot of success stories. The university has become really the managing agent for that day-to-day, but we work closely with them every single day in providing advice, counsel, mentoring to entrepreneurs, whether they have office space there or not. The third part on B is continue efforts to expand and implement West Alabama Works initiatives. I could spend the rest of the afternoon talking about West Alabama Works. Councilman Crowe, who's been involved in that initiative way back when we started it in 2014, knows the extensive work being done there, which includes hiring fairs that we do for businesses of all sizes, our Career Connect system, which is a proprietary job placement program we have created in-house that has literally thousands of job prospects in it on any given day, and we have placed thousands of people just in the last few years through our Career Connect system. And then the work we're doing with K-12 in this community is incredible. Just one example is Worlds of Work, which took place last Thursday and Friday at Shelton State Community College, where we had 12 school systems throughout West Alabama, including all of the public high schools in Tuscaloosa City participated in this hands-on career awareness expo. In total, we had just shy of 4,000 ninth graders participate in that event, exposing them to careers and opportunities that they don't know exist. Those are kids from every one of your school districts that participate in that, giving them hope. That pipeline building we're doing, you don't see the results today, you don't see them tomorrow, but we're doing it long term. We're trying to reverse the cycle of poverty with too many people. We work extensively under C, under the research analysis and policy recommendation part. We work closely with your city staff, especially Ashley and her group, discussing policies, procedures, zoning, code, etc. There's hardly a week that goes by that we're not engaged in conversations about trying to build a better mousetrap so that it's easier to do business in this community. A lot of the times, the proposals or the suggestions that come before you as a policy-making body, you may or may not know we've ever had anything to do with that, but that's the business community through the chamber trying to be a great partner. And another example of that is through the Mayor's Advisory Council, which Mayor Maddox and I started in the spring of 2012, a year after the tornado, to talk about then hair on fire recovery issues, which has since evolved to be a proactive way of vetting issues and talking about making it easier to do business in the city of Tuscaloosa. And over 10 years later, that group's still meeting. And we're still, I would like to think, a great resource not only to the mayor and to staff, but to you as needed. We're also charged, when it comes up, to help analyze and recommend advice or give advice on incentives. That hasn't really happened over the last year. We haven't had that need to involve, but that is part of our contract. Part D, under marketing, this is bread and butter of what we do, of buy local. You see we do that in a lot of different ways. Certainly you'll see that in the coming weeks as we gear up for the holiday season. Number three, our site and building database. This is something we talked extensively about in December of last year. This is something that Barclay has really put a lot of time and effort in developing. But we've got a site and building database that gives a one-stop shop, if you will, for marketing available properties and buildings in this community that city staff uses. Our commercial brokers in this community, those are our private sector boots on the ground trying to bring new business here. They use this extensively, and we get emails from them saying, I did a deal because I found XYZ or was able to use this. And then economic developers from within this area, this state and beyond are using this, and we're making it easier for them to try to do business and make investments in our community in every district. And then finally, communication. We act as an ongoing liaison between the city and the business community. There's oftentimes issues will pop up that relate to bars or restaurants or certain sectors, and we engage in those conversations, trying to be a facilitator and a mediator sometimes on a lot of those issues, and I think we've been successful in doing so. Part two, under E, communication, providing monthly reports to the mayor and council. It says in here verbatim, to provide updates to city council members as requested. You haven't requested us to do that over the last year, but I want to take full responsibility for us having this conversation today because we haven't provided you with enough updates on what we're doing. That's my fault. That will be corrected if we continue this relationship going forward. I don't ever want to assume that you're reading the laundry list of the emails that we send that has a lot of information in there, or the events that we have almost weekly that bring together the business community that you're certainly invited to. I know you're busy and can't attend all those. But I don't need to assume that you know what's going on or assume you know what we're working on or the value we bring to the table. So reports, whether it be like this, it's emails, it's direct individual meetings. We want to work with each of you individually and communicate with you individually the way you want to be communicated with in order that there's no more questions about what we bring to the table. But also as it relates to this contract, if there are parts of this that we don't need to be doing, or if there are other areas that maybe it's a blind spot for the city or an area where you could leverage the business community more through the chamber to be more successful, we want to do that. So I'm open to this contract being completely revisited, thrown out if we want to, and start over, because this has to be a mutually beneficial relationship. I am biased and think it has been, but I certainly want to make sure you're happy with the work that we're providing for the city for what I think, in the grand scheme of things, is a very nominal amount of money. I think it's a very, very good return on your investment.
Thank you very much. And I think you undersold yourself on one point. I think on the even fee for 10 years, I think 2 years ago, y'all saved us an awkward moment and actually took the same 32% cut that we were doing in-house. So
Yes, sir.
credit where credit's due.
I'm not on the committee, but first of all, I questioned last week for a reason. Because we still have basically a new council. And they get asked the same thing I do, what does the chamber do for this amount of money? I think the communication line goes both ways. There's some, I'd like to be able to say, and I think, that what they've done in District 5, for example, even though I look at not as so much this as a district, but the city overall, I really do. But I think it's good to know where that this, you answer what exactly is this amount of money used for? This is a lot of stuff. Do you think maybe it's too much, too broad, and maybe need to hone in a little bit more on possibly the things that we need in, as far as recruiting business is concerned? That's just a question.
I don't think it's too broad. I think because we have broadened it, I think over the years.
That's what I'm saying.
But I think there's been rhyme or reason for that. The city staff situation and the structure has changed. We filled, I think, a need at the time that has certainly changed. Just the organizational structure of the city has changed. So we've backed off on the traditional, being the tip of the spear on the traditional retail recruitment part. We've backed off a little bit of that, or more of a partner and a support entity. But I'm open And I think
Yeah.
our team's open to revisiting this and finding what is our highest and best use to be of benefit to the city.
And I'm glad you said that too, because at the time, the history of this, and I've been asked by some council members, you know, and the history of this was different at the time.
Sure.
The tornado had wiped out most of my area, and then in District 2 as well, where I guess the absolute hardest hits, and then we lost our planning director. We didn't have an economic team really at that time, and so you know, it was mostly chamber going to Vegas and trying to find people there that come here, you know, to open a business here. And now our city's the city staff does that, so, you know, so it has changed a lot from its original intentions, I don't know how many years ago. I never was not for supporting it. I just think we need to have this today to, you know, and I will be better at communicating myself, so I can, when, like you said, one thing I'd like to know, Jim, sometimes too, and I think we all would, is when, you know, where are people being directed at times, you know? I had a conversation with the realtors once. It was a really great meeting, and I'm not saying this is the same as the realtors at all, but the realtors were sending people outside of my area. They were not directing people to Alberta, and that upset me a lot. And I knew firsthand that was happening. And so, you know, I think it's good to know, like you said, that you are representing all the city, which I definitely believe you are. But again, you know, I think it's good that you're here today and brought this and shared what you did with us today. And again, it was never my intention not to support it. I think we should continue to support it. And when it comes to full council, I'll definitely vote for it. But
Look, I don't shy away one iota from accountability. I think you should, as a good steward of taxpayer dollars, you should hold us accountable. I will say, and I know some of our team has evolved over the years, but I'm a constant over the last 10 years. And I've told you this before, when we're dealing with an economic development prospect, we have never and will never steer them into any one particular district, one particular location. We give them all of the assets, all of the information, and even if we tried to, they wouldn't listen. People that are going to invest money at that level, they decide where they're going based on the information they have in front of them.
And I know we're on camera, so I want to say to all my wonderful realtor friends out there today.
Good save.
Yeah, well, it was a situation that was happening, and not by the group as a whole, but they were gracious enough to let me come and address my concerns. And it was funny because afterwards I had more tell me. They said, "Well, I hate to say it, but what you said was true. You know, our commission's higher over here than it is here. That's a reality." And you know, and so anyway, I appreciate you being
No,
here.
thank you, sir. I appreciate the question.
What other questions? I mean, Jim, I appreciate you reminding us of the value of the contract, and really, I think it's always good to kind of, this is the expectation that is set. I do think that you were right about the communication being two-way street as far as that goes. I mean, if there's issues, I would expect council people to bring them up with y'all and say, hey, we need help with this, or this is what we need. But also, I think it's always a good reminder of the work you're doing, because I think there's a lot of stuff that gets lost in the shuffle. So I'm glad that you are here. What other questions?
So
Maybe that.
You're gonna change your vote now back to a yes?
No, I'm voting for 175 million.
Mayor will find it,
For
don't worry, he'll
neighborhood
find it.
drainage, I have to talk to Walt about that. We'll solve everybody's problems all over the county.
Not a question, but just maybe a comment or two. Jim, let me thank you for your coming to present this to us today. Within my district, I know there's going to be a lot of development and growth, and we're looking forward to it. I'm grateful and thankful to have Berkeley, who had spent some time with me riding around our district and showing me some things that I did not particularly see. So as we continue to grow within our community, recruiting, retaining, and decreasing roadblocks for commercial businesses, especially over in Tuscaloosa, and especially in my district, I love to have your input on that. All right,
Thank you, sir.
What other questions? Both of you good? Cassius, Ray, anybody have any questions for Jim while he's on the hot seat? If there are no more questions, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
Mr. Tyner, as usual, please make it known for the record that he is not a voting member of our committee. He voted again.
Councilman, if I could echo one of Jim's points, the workforce housing that they're doing, right, the work they're doing with workforce housing is gonna pay huge dividends in the future as far as recruitment of businesses. And, hopefully we'll have some big wins here pretty soon that can be announced.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you for what you do too, Eric. Thank you so much.
Good job, Eric.
He does all right.
Item number 2 is approval of the right-of-way use permit for Elevation Boudoir. How do you say that? Did I do that right?
You did good. You
I
did very
usually,
good.
butcher stuff. For
Boudoir
Blade
is
sign
a
on
bedroom, right?
2318 University Boulevard. Mike, welcome.
Yes, sir. Got y'all a couple of presentations here. This is, you may know this location is Cravings, and this is a door right next to it, 2318 University Boulevard. Request for a right-of-way use permit for a blade sign. That is a graphic diagram of what the sign will look like in its location, front view there, and just a general overall map. And this blade sign meets all the sign requirements.
What is it?
I don't know.
He's just dealing with the
I don't know what the business.
I guess it's immaterial to the sign approval, but I'm just curious.
It says photography.
Oh, okay, photography, all right. And is it upstairs? Is it up above Cravens?
I don't know if I pronounced that right or not, Mandy.
You did a
I
great
don't
job.
know.
Maybe I butchered that. That ain't
No.
gonna change the vote.
Boudoir.
That's what I thought too.
Boudoir.
It must be, it's a
Never took
bedroom.
French.
Okay. It does say photography, okay.
You never know what's gonna happen at a council meeting.
Your recommendation would be?
Exactly.
We recommend approval for the right-of-way use permit. Yes, sir.
Good.
I don't have a problem with it at
Motion.
all.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item number 3, authorization to amend minor public works contract with Ellis Architects for professional consulting and related services related to architectural interior design. The total is $10,000. Craig, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Like it says, this is a contract that we've had with Ellis since 2020, just for some work. We renovate officer, do something architectural. A lot of the projects we've had this year's kind of run us up, so it's where we're asking for an additional 10 on this contract. And this is within budget.
In budget.
Okay.
So that's good.
So why, I'm sorry, why is it going up 50%?
This is an additional, the main thing that's driving this to go up would be the Saban Center offices. We've had that added on to, what we did with this. And so this is the architect we used to do those offices.
And those are offices in the Saban Center, or those?
No, sir, they're on the-
offices being used
In the
to
city hall.
develop the Saban Center?
Third-
They're here for the.
They're here in our building.
Not only our team, but the foundation team, doing the fundraising and being used to meet with potential contributors to the Savings Center.
And the budget that it's within is the
That would be
Saban
the
Center budget?
Facilities Renewal Fund is where we're
Facilities
taking this
Renewal
from.
Fund.
Did that have to do with HR's move to?
No, sir, but it's up there beside HR.
Yeah, that's why I wondered. I like that. I like the new place. And it makes a lot of sense.
Craig deserves a lot of credit. There were a lot of balls that were juggled that hit the ground. And he picked them up and started juggling and really pushed all these things that have been sitting in abeyance for 90 to 120 days. He's done a fantastic job.
Is it on third floor?
Yes, sir,
Over
as you're
here?
going back, like
I
you're
wanna
going
see it.
towards the walk,
Yeah, and so
going across
when
the
you-
breeze, going across the parking deck.
And what's so
Oh,
good,
okay,
when
that-
people have to come here to do business, they have to come to the deck now and get off on the third and they just go back to apply for a job.
One of the things Brendan did immediately upon being COO was did a census of who's coming into City Hall and why. And, since, and really something probably should have been done 3 or 4 years ago, he took the ball and ran with it. HR clearly is our most visited department, so he reassigned and took the vacant IPS space and reconstituted it for HR. So it gives our retirees, our employees, a quick park on the 3rd or 4th floor, easy access into HR.
Way to go,
So
Brandon.
HR's up there now?
Yes, sir.
Not down there at all?
No.
What's
For
down
years,
there?
we had heard that there wasn't enough space at City Hall, and between Brendan's work and Craig's work in 120 days, they discovered a new way of thinking about being more efficient and effective, and I'm very proud of their work.
It's nice up there.
All right, I'm gonna go see. I don't have any other
Directly
questions.
above you.
Any other questions? I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 4 is approval to enter into minor public works contract with FAST Signs for fabrication and installation of office signage and door film for the Savings Center offices. Total is $58,1068. Correct.
Yes, sir. Like it says, for the Saban offices, you got 3 doors that are glass. This will get the etched film that'll go over it to kind of give you a little bit of privacy there, but also allow the light in. It'll also have 3 side door glasses, similar to what's at the door behind you. That'll have the covering, and then it'll have 2 signs, one outside directing you to the offices and one inside that'll be lit, that'll be behind the receptionist.
What's the time frame on all of this getting finished?
Being that materials have been hard to come by, that would be a hard, but if you would like to know, I will try and,
Would you have a guess?
I-
Before year end, next couple months?
yes, sir, I'm hoping 4 years in.
That's fine. It's good enough for me. Any other questions? Otherwise, entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Craig. Item number 5 is authorization for the Director of Arts and Entertainment to execute agreements and related documents for Unity Fest 2022. Welcome, Ms. Kay.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Actually, we need to change this, we'll have the resolution changed to Unity Fest 2023. We're doing a lot of exciting things this coming year, and we're going to change this until January. We've got a tentative date, but I don't want to announce it till it's confirmed, which we should be able to do by tomorrow. But it's for Unity Fest for me to be able to sign the agreements and related documents.
So we're still voting on that even though will that be changed at council tonight? Or,
Isn't doubled up, I don't believe,
Oh,
so we'll have the
okay.
resolution corrected before y'all consider it next week.
That's good.
just checking. Thank you, Kay.
Thank you.
Any questions? I don't think there is. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 6 is authorization to apply to the FAA for FY23 bipartisan infrastructure law grant for terminal upgrades. Ms. Standridge, welcome.
Thank you, council. I'm actually a stand-in for Jeff Powell, who is out of town today, but this is the authorization to apply for the FAA terminal upgrades grant for the bipartisan infrastructure bill that was released by the federal government earlier this year. The total amount for the project would be just over $11 million. The city of Tuscaloosa's required match is only 5%. However, to make our application a little bit more competitive, we will be offering up to a 15% grant match. These match dollars will come from a combination of both the airport improvement fund and then also the set aside in the 10-year plan for Elevate. Currently, there's about $3 million set aside in Elevate starting in fiscal 2024 for about $3 million.
Carly, when we apply for this, what's the usual timeframe probably to hear back from this? Would you expect?
So the FAA has actually been pretty quick on the response rate. Normally, we would assume it would be about March of next year, but they've even said could possibly be as quickly as December of this year.
So is this just resubmitting for a new year? Haven't we done this?
We have done this before, however, the prior application was a little bit larger and we were a little bit more behind than we currently are on the process to actually get the architectural renderings. If you will recall, the council approved the airport manager to contract with an engineering and architectural firm to kind of do a master plan for the airport. And so that master plan really is in, and it is allowing us to have a more robust information push to the FAA for this application. So this application is it is the same because it is the terminal improvements, but it is more refined. The dollar amount is less because we now have a phase 1 versus phase 2. And that master plan will kind of give us the basis for the application this time around.
So is Jeff gonna brief, there is a master plan that is now produced to be submitted as a part of this grant application?
The master plan is, I think that Mr. Powell has it on, it's not completely finalized yet. This is just the terminal aspect of that master plan.
And Mr. Busby, as I recall, he talked to us before concerning the master plan of the airport. We've discussed the master plan before.
We hired somebody to do that, did we not?
Have we seen
Atkins,
the-
yes.
Yeah.
We haven't seen
We
documents.
haven't seen
Okay,
it.
that's,
It's
Yeah.
in process.
It's in
Carl.
process.
this
currently,
is
yes.
part of that big pot
Yeah.
of money that the federal government's making available for terminal improvements.
That's right.
And then it filters down and it's, it's X amount for the big urban centers, over 1 million people. And it trickles, it's tiered on down to some category that we fit into, right?
Yes, sir. And this is the first year or the first time federal government's ever included terminal improvements as part of federal funding. Several months ago, you hired Atkins as our lead consultant that's developing the master plan. There were public process hearings or meetings that you were included in on, or at least invited to, that Jeff has been conducting with stakeholders across the community. Atkins accelerated the terminal part of the plan so that we can meet the application deadline related to this product. Last year, we did not have that refined plan, so I think our application was somewhere
About $20 million.
$20 million. We have refined that down. We looked at last year's award winners. We saw what was being awarded. We put our plan down in smaller bite-sized chunks, which seemed to be more preferable to the FAA, and increased our match in hopes of that would make us more competitive in this next round of funding.
And so this is authorization just to submit the application to the FAA.
I got you, but my original question was, is this just the 23 version of something we already did in 22?
And we were not awarded 22,
We were
so
not-
yes.
Okay, so we did it in 22, now we've paid Atkinson, I assumed we must have some nice George Jetson conceptual drawings somewhere that are gonna enhance the package, and now we're going to it looking for 11.6, knowing that 15% of that would be on us, and that would come from the airport improvement funds and the
And
Elevate.
elevate, and we're offering within the application up to 15%. FAA won't allow us to say that we will only do 15%. They're requiring us to say, yes, we can do our required 5%, and then we say the up to 15 just to make our application a little bit more robust. But that is not a requirement as in our application.
If you would like, we would love to send you a copy of it so you can see the conceptual. Again, when you apply for a grant, they're conceptual, but send you the conceptual drawings, and then if you're awarded the grant, then you get into the more
The detail.
I'd love to see the drawings, and as Mr. Page noted, many times emails just wash by, but if we got some George Jetson drawings of a new airport terminal, I'd love to see it.
Would you like to explain for our viewers
No,
at home?
I would not.
Who George Jetson is?
No.
I watched it Sunday morning.
I don't think I watched it live, but I watched it on TBS and the
But it used to be the Fred.
Ruh-roh roars.
Yeah,
So
what
I-
are we supposed to be flying around by now?
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't have any further questions on the application.
Just as wet.
So move, Mr. Chair.
We got a
Second.
move and second, and all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. You just never know what's gonna happen in a committee meeting, which is kind of fun. Item number 7 is approval of shared information agreement with the Tuscaloosa County Tax Assessor's Office for geospatial, data and imagery. Welcome, Jason.
Welcome, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
This is, the Tuscaloosa County Tax Assessor's Office has aerial imagery and other data that they're willing to share with us for no cost. We just have to sign an agreement that says we won't resell it or redistribute it. And I have Allison from my staff here if you have any additional questions.
I don't have any.
No, sir.
Motion.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 7 is approved. Is there any other business to be brought before this committee today? Speak now or forever hold your peace. If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.